In 3, 2, 1.
Nay.
Hello. Son of a
How's it going, everyone, and welcome to week 3 of the Battle Union's Union News. I'm Chaosinthesky, and today I'm joined, of course, by my ever-faithful co-host, Shroomraver. What's up, man?
Hello, everyone. It is Shroomraver here. Yeah, as Chaos said, welcome to the Union News, following on from the week 3 games. Some fascinating stuff to look into. Once again, some highly anticipated matchups. Now, before we do get started, we should mention that as with week 1, there has been one game that hasn't happened. Quill and the Dungannon Typhlosions and Sisas and the All Somerset Scissors. I know they were trying to organise their battle for the weekend just gone. I'm not sure if it's happened. Certainly we haven't seen any uploads, so we haven't got anything to comment on there, and the score sheet has reflected that at the moment. So, nothing to go on there.
This is going straight into Chaos's complaint box.
Yes, very much so. That section we mentioned at the end of last week, that's very much the thing that's going to happen. We are looking for a bigger budget for a bigger box, hopefully made of mahogany.
Oh yes,
that's what I mean. Isn't that what everyone
7.
wants? Isn't that what everyone wants? A nice mahogany complaint box.
Then they have to take our complaint seriously because it's
absolutely.
in a mahogany box.
Yes, that is pretty much what we're working with. But we do have 5 games to go over, and we are going to kick things off with Richie and Livewormpool FC taking on Eric, Ashton Akai, and the Bristol Bedoofs. Richie was desperate for his first win. Eric was really looking to cement himself towards the top of the table and keep his winning streak going, and unfortunately for Richie, the latter was what happened. Eric did take this one 2-0. These are two of the most threatening teams we've seen, certainly in the case of Richie's, bringing a triple Life Orb core, Victini, Mienshao and Zoroark. Nice for potentially disguising. Lot of moves shared between those. I'm thinking, I say a lot, I mean U-turn. That's basically what I mean there.
U-turn the game.
Yeah, pretty much.
And without a Flygon.
Yeah, I've heard that he might be looking to get that in on transfer.
Ah, glorious.
Just for the full U-turn 6. I think that's what he was planning. But it was an interesting game that started off very, very fast paced. Turn 1, Eric leaves Heatran in on Druddigan to get rocks up, and Druddigan just clicks EQ. I say Druddigan clicks EQ. Richie clicks EQ.
No, it was definitely the Druddigan. Richie was considering Dragon Claw, but the Druddigan was like, nah, I got this.
Druddigan knows better, unless Richie is in fact a Druddigan. We'll have to wait and see. Who can really say?
This is another something else we have to fund, researching if Richie is a Druddigan or not.
Yes, very much so. But yeah, it was just one of those things where I think Eric had been considering Chople or
He did say at the
Sugarberry.
start, I watched Eric's side, he did say at the start of the match that he was considering the two, but he chose Chople.
Yeah, and unfortunately that one hasn't worked out for him, but he did get rocks up. The problem with Richie's team is that I don't believe he was packing Defog on anything. I think the Zapdos may have been choiced. So there was no apparent hazard removal, with that triple Life Orb core taking recall damage, all of which are U-turning around, plus a Zapdos, plus Victini is weak to rocks as well, and with no hazard removal, that was always going to be a problem. So I suppose Eric's first turn was really quite well played in its own way.
I agree. Losing the Heatran was unfortunate, but it was definitely in the long run worth it, because like you said, he didn't have Defog. Richie had a very U-turn, switch-around initiative team, and on top of that, because he chose to hide Zoroark as the Victini, which was a clever move, Eric said he said in his match as he was playing, he was able to tell when it was Zoroark and when it was Victini, because Zoroark would take 12% while looking like Victini, whereas Victini would take 25%.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
he always knew if the Zoroark was in or not. So that kind of one of the biggest things about Zoroark. Not only is it a hard hitter, but just the illusion factor is the main draw of Zoroark. And once you can tell which mon is Zoroark, it takes away a lot of Zoroark's ability.
Yeah, very much so. And you know, whilst it seemed that was a nice sort of idea for Richie to go with all that massive amount of momentum, he's got a lot of big hitters in that team. You're looking at the likes of Victini, Mienshao, and potentially an offensive Zapdos. We saw him doing a little bit of over-predicting, like he has been known to do in the past. Zapdos versus Milotic was the big one. Zapdos going for Hidden Power Ice. Eric stays in because he is a max special defense whack and berry Milotic, and he doesn't fear, I think, would we say any attack ever? Possibly. He certainly didn't fear a stab electric attack from Zapdos because he could live it. And he gets a Toxic onto Zapdos, and that's always huge. As someone who's used a Zapdos before, having a Toxic on that is just one of the worst things because it's bulky, it's difficult to take down. Even if it's an offensive one, it's still got nice natural bulk. Toxic on that thing, really nice indeed. And yeah, Latias was kind of pivotal with both teams because Richie, nothing on his team appreciated a Draco Meteor at all. He didn't bring any of his steel types. But what he was able to do was kind of wear down several mons on Eric's team, including that Latias, until he could bring in the Mienshao train.
Oh my goodness, the Mienshao made my day.
And here's the thing, it looked like a risk because he set up a Swords Dance with Mienshao, which is terrifying in and of itself, on a Milotic. Now, that is risky, hugely so, but at that stage, Richie literally, I think he had no other choice. He had to risk it. As it is, he sets up a Swords Dance as the Milotic goes for a cover, which doesn't save it because it's a specially defensive Milotic, and this is a +2 high jump kicking Mienshao, and it killed all of the things, basically.
It killed the Melodic, which was at like near full HP. It was at like 80% or something. It killed the half health Latias. I think it was about half. It was like 90 out of 190 or something. Then it killed the Conkeldurr that I think was also at like 70 or 80%.
Yeah.
But the Conk got a Mach Punch off and brought it down into Sucker Punch range from Honchkrow. Now, something I was thinking, I don't know what Mienshao's other abilities are, but was Richie not running Regenerator on it?
I highly suspect he was running Reckless. Probably just to want to break through the powerful defensive might of the Bristol Beedus, I would imagine.
Hopefully that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
Because I think he had the potential to still win if it was Regenerator, but unfortunately if he had Reckless, there was nothing he could do. He had 2 mons to switch into, though, and I was thinking, if you double switch, you outspeed the Honchkrow, you can get the health back to live a Sucker Punch, and I'm pretty sure Mienshao outspeeds if he was a max speed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if he was Reckless, then there was nothing he could have done anyways. I've never seen a Mienshao without Regenerator, so I didn't even know what its other abilities were.
Oh, I tend to always see them with Reckless, just because Reckless, Life Orb, High Jump Kick, Mienshao is ow. I'm pretty sure
fair.
Last season someone used Reckless, High Jump Kick, Adamant, Banded Mienshao, which is too much, I think. That's unnecessary.
You know what? Doing 100% damage isn't enough. Let's make it 124.
Yeah. It's true. Mienshao was looking to try and clutch it late game for Richie, but once again, Eric is a man who knows how to use Conkeldurr. He knows very well how to get the best out of it. He also knows when to preserve it. There was a moment earlier in the battle, I think the Victini came in and was at very low health, and he was tempted to go for it, but he was like, no, I need to save the Mach Punch for later. So he withdraws, keeps Conk at very good health, and this is exactly what happens. He can bring it in on the Mienshao, get massive damage with the Mach Punch, and sack off that Conkeldurr, knowing that it will be in Sucker Punch range from Honchkrow. So a very intelligently played endgame from Eric. Richie getting the best out of what he had with that endgame, but unfortunately it was just a tiny bit too little, too late for him. But after a very plucky rearguard action from the Mienshao, it does come down to the 2-0 for Eric.
It was a very good match. I very much enjoyed it. I really wish that the Mienshao could have pulled it back, but Eric played too well. Yeah,
that would have been one of the great comebacks, I think. Already, that would certainly be a massive moment in the season if he'd managed.
Let's be honest, though. Let's be honest. I mean, if he had not gone for Sucker Punch that turn, then Richie just would have missed the high jump kick anyway. So I mean,
this is true. We'll have
he hit 3 in a row. He was due.
Yeah, he was due a miss, especially if like, say, Josh was watching the game, or had even, or was thinking in some way about
Josh
the game.
was asleep. Josh was asleep during their match, and then like he wakes up as the Mienshao goes for high jump kick, and just like all of the hacks in the world turns back on, and it just goes flying by.
And it just cuts to Richie, looks away from his DS, and goes, Josh.
All right, let's move on to the
that'll be happening in the film adaptation coming out next summer.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's gonna be
already bought my tickets. Step out the way, Star Wars.
Speaking of things we couldn't wait for, the next game to talk about would see Dallas Staravias and Trip. I ignored saying the at the beginning of the Dallas Staravias. I don't know why. The Dallas Staravias and Trip versus LA Galoxray and Gabe, both looking for their first win. Gabe, of course, with a game in hand. And what we saw here, a very interesting one. and quite contentious, coming down to a 3-2 win for Trip by dint of the timer. Very interesting stuff. Very, very brief look at some teams. Trip noticing that Breloom kind of wrecks Gabe. And I was actually doing counts this because I was like, nah, it doesn't wreck him that much. And I was calcing and it was like, nah, what's Trip talking about? It does like 50% here, 49% here, 52%. Oh, let's put it at +2. And then it does kind of wreck Gabe. Quite spectacular.
Story of Breloom's 130 base attack.
Yes, absolutely. You give that thing Swords Dance and things are going to go badly for your opponent. And yeah, Gabe was bringing some cool stuff as well. I always like seeing the likes of Embor on the team. Mega Beedrill making an interesting appearance. That feel when your best counter to Breloom is Mega Beedrill. That's always a thing.
I actually I think that Gabe had a max HP, max defense Embor for it, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he did. I've got max defense Embor with Willow, so that was nice. What was unfortunate was that he learnt from last time because he brought Scarfed Kyurem Black, and this time it didn't work either, which was just unfortunate. But yeah, looking into the game, a 3-2 victory by timer for Trip. A lot of early pressure from Kyurem, but of all the things on a team that could wall a Kyurem Black, it's Shardy's favourite, it's Quagsire. Quagsire just walling the hell out of Kyurem. It could take a Draco Meteor, and of course after -2 it was going to take it next. He could just recover up.
You know what it couldn't take though? Getting frozen.
Ooh, yes, you're not
Once
wrong.
again proving, just like me and Shoddy say, one of the only things we're both correct on, Quagsire is worthless. If it had been a Seismitoad, it wouldn't have gotten frozen.
Yeah,
it wouldn't. Not only would it not have gotten frozen, it would have immediately learned how to use Draco Origin Cannon and killed that Kyurem Bee in one hit.
Very much
Which is
so.
why Quagsire is just garbage.
I mean, at least it wasn't a para.
I'll give you that.
At least it wasn't a para, but also we saw a +1 waterfall from Quagsire not taking out Mega Beedrill, so I guess Shoddy has a point.
Wait a minute, that reminds me. He had a defensive Embor and he ran Willow over Scald. I'm upset.
Yeah, come on, Gabe. You know what you need to do. Scald on Embor is the only way. It'll get a burn from Scald more likely than Willow will hit.
You know what? It's sad that you say that, but you're right. I've probably missed more 85 accuracy Will-O-Wisps than I have not gotten burns from 30% Scald.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate series of events, really. But looking back to this game, Gabe was playing well kind of early on. We saw Electros versus Quagsire, and he goes for U-turn knowing that Trip's expecting a Giga Drain, so then next time he does reveal Giga, but Trip's one step ahead. He's just playing safe. He has a bulky Dragonite with Toxic and Sub, which was interesting.
I'm very pleased with Trip's usage of Dragonite this season so far. Even though it hasn't worked out the greatest for him, I've been very impressed. Special Dragonite, bulky Dragonite.
Yeah.
You know, it's just way too often you see Banded or D-Dance, E-Speed.
Yeah.
The usual
or
stuff.
Weakness policy, all of this stuff.
Yeah, weakness policy, all that good stuff.
But yeah, this time we saw him able to Toxic Stall Granbull, who just couldn't break it. So he was really playing very well with Dragonite, knowing that he can sub up on the Electros. Gabe goes into Kyurem to try and deal with it. As it goes for the sub, what this allows Trip to do is get huge damage onto the problematic Kyurem, because Gabe is forced to stay in to break the sub. And then, once that's done, who's coming in? It's Quagsire. Who else but Quagsire? And yeah, it could just wall it completely until it got a crit and frozen. So, you know,
If only Quagsire could have dealt damage beforehand.
Yeah, that would have been nice. If only it wasn't at -1 from Curse. But yeah, I think the main talking point... Sorry?
Did you just say if only it wasn't at -1 from Curse, as if, like, that doesn't affect its damage? Hell.
Yeah, but it affects its speed.
But it was a... Okay.
I was saying that it wouldn't be able to outspeed because of the -1 from Curse, even though it's dirt slow anyway. I think we're getting our wires crossed a little bit here.
Shroom, just finish talking about the
Quagsire
battle
has
so we can move to the
confused
next one.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, I'm totally unaware of what you're talking about.
Oh, well played. Well played. Well rescued. Yes, but awful Quagsire puns aside, the main talking point of this battle is going to be the ending, whereby we saw Trip win by dint of timer. He was able to stall out the time, and it was kind of strange how it happened. He was in with Breloom versus Emboar. He puts it to sleep. I believe he outspeeds, puts it to sleep with Spore, obviously. And then, of course, Emboar has its guaranteed 1 turn of sleep. Now, at this point, there's about 8 or 10 minutes of the battle left to go. Trip withdraws Breloom because he knows that he can stall out the rest of the timer and doesn't need to risk trying to set up a Swords Dance with Breloom and then just getting bopped after a first turn wake. And that's exactly what he did. You know, the Emboar didn't get the first turn wake, but he doesn't risk Breloom. He has a fair amount of stalling stuff. He's shown that kind of Toxic Stall Dragonite. I really enjoyed the Arcanine that he brought, which was Toxic, Fire Spin, Morning Sun, and Sunny Day, which served a lot of purposes that I'll go into further in the power rankings. But he was able to stall out the timer. You know, that's never going to be the most popular decision. We get that, but there's no rule against it. If you can do it, so
there is now.
Yeah, there is now. Now that there is a new rule in place, because it is an unpopular decision to go with. But you know what? There wasn't a rule before now. He was perfectly within his rights to do it. And if nothing else, he did it very effectively. He did it very well. He saved the right Mons until the end to be able to do it. So can't really say fairer than that. There are now new rules in place that will prevent that from happening. And we'll just move on from there. But yeah, Trip managing to win it 3-2. It may not be the most popular way of doing it, but he did get the job done.
I just feel so sorry for Gabe because he did have a chance to win.
Yeah.
Even if the Breloom had stayed in with his Emboar being defensive, even at +2, Breloom wasn't killing, and he had a good chance of winning. So I don't know. It's just I'm one of the people who it's very unpopular with. I do not agree with timer stalling at all. It's happened to me before, and it's one of the most infuriating things. Rather, if the outcome was you were going to lose or you're going to win, especially since Trip said in his video it was like 8 minutes left and he started doing it. I'm not a fan, but you know, what's done is done. We'll move on.
Absolutely. And as we say, now there are sort of new rules in place within the Battle Union to try and prevent that from here on in. But that's how this game went, and yeah, we'll just move on from it to the third match that happened this week, and that was going to see Josh and Slateport Vale, Squirtacular's team, taking on Baby Eye. That's Sinister Sableye, of course, and the St. Louis Chatots, another 2-0 versus 0-2 team. And what we saw here was a 3-0 victory for Josh and Slateport Vale. Now, first thing I do want to mention is Baby Eye's team building. I watched his videos, and he's thinking even better about team building. He said himself, one of the first things he was saying was like, the gimmicks aren't really helping that much. So he's going to try and go a bit more standard. And you know what? Sometimes that's the best way to go. You know, if gimmicks aren't working to your favour, then...
Says Mr. Trick Room Victini from Curse Pass Umbreon.
Hey. I said sometimes. I said sometimes it's not the way to go. But he's been trying a few gimmicks and they haven't necessarily helped him out. So I salute him for taking the option to just go more standard and try and settle back into it. Now... In that regard, I'm not sure how much of his stuff was massively standard. There were some things in there, but there were some crazier sets as well. But I liked them. I liked a lot of what he was doing. But he's up against Josh, who's a pretty damn good player in and of himself. And he had just bought Tyrantrum off the bench. And he was rocking out with a team including Mamoswine, Tyrantrum, and Staraptor. Because such physical wall break, I guess.
Hello, yes, Pokemon. Can you define switch-in?
Yeah, and the thing is, it was kind of quite well disguised, because what he actually brought was a bulky Staraptor with Intimidate and Leftovers.
Now that was surprising. I liked seeing that Staraptor.
Yeah, me too. That was really, really awesomely done. Very well disguised. Because you look at that team and you just think, oh my god, he's gone massively offensive. No, he's got a supporting Staraptor, which I really enjoyed as well. But yeah, as we get into the game, some interesting plays at the beginning. You know, Josh has this bulky Staraptor. Baby Eye is staying in with Hitmonlee, which was risky, ballsy, I think we'd say, to knock off the switch, which was Miltank into Hitmonlee. So I didn't really get too much of what was going on in that turn. So much sort of staying in on something that can hit you hard and switching into something that will hit you hard. It was confusing, but it seemed to work out for various parties. Baby Eye played well, actually. I think in scouting Staraptor, he did very well indeed, because he was able to very early on see that actually this isn't banded or scarfed Staraptor, it's not as offensive. He was scouting out with Aggron, baiting the CC, goes into Togekiss to take it if it's coming, but shows that he doesn't have it. What do we have to say about Tyrantrum not being trained in the mountains?
Yeah, obviously you and I should have taken Josh under our wing. I don't remember. Did you ever miss any important head smashes?
I didn't miss any.
I don't think I missed any either. I may have missed one and I'm just not remembering, but I'm pretty sure me and Shroom, who both had Tyrantrum for this season of the PPL D1 and D2, we never missed a head smash, at least not one that mattered that I can remember.
Yeah.
And obviously Josh has not he hasn't been treating his Tyrantrum as well as he should have been, because it was a Togekiss against Tyrantrum. In comes the head smash and it sails right over Togekiss's wings, and then Tyrantrum just takes a Aura Sphere right to the gut, and surprisingly tanks it. I was honestly amazed when Tyrantrum took it. He lived on like 11. He lived on 11 HP, and you're thinking that's not a tank. That's like a 90% damage hit, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. 59 base special defense. That's a tank for Tyrantrum.
And the Togekiss was fully invested.
Was it? I thought it was defensive after that damage.
Nope,
I legitimately thought it was the defensive Togekiss after the Aura Sphere didn't kill. I'm honestly amazed.
No, it was bulky Scarf Togekiss, which was very interesting. But yeah, Max invested Modest, which was nice. We saw some other interesting sets doing some good work as well. Not only that Toxicking Staraptor, the Miltank, Assault Vest Power Up Punch Miltank put in a decent shift. Because unfortunately, once Aggron had gone down, Baby I didn't have too much to take a +1 hit from Miltank, so Exploud had to go before he could come in and revenge it. And then...
So can we address the elephant in the room now?
Are we talking about the Chandelure?
Yes, the Chandelure.
That was my and then. So, Josh is playing a very nice wish passing game, and at one point, he passes a wish from Aromatisse into Chandelure.
Nice and full HP.
Yeah, very nice. And Chandelure, this is a powerful special attacker. You see them scarfed, you see them specs if you really want to cause massive damage. What you don't see is Flame Charge.
Good old Flame Charge coming through.
Flame Charge Chandelure.
It was what did he had Mega Altaria left? Baby I had Mega Altaria left, which was at like full HP or 70% or something like that. He had Amoonguss, which was at like full, and then what was the third mon?
Was it Togekiss?
I think it was Togekiss. Yeah, it was Togekiss. He had those 3 mons left against Josh's last 3. His Tyrantrum, which I'm pretty sure died on re-entry to rocks, and some other third thing that's totally doesn't matter at this point.
Oh, the Aromatisse.
The Aromatisse, exactly. Doesn't matter at this point.
Yeah.
He goes for Flame Charge and gets the +1, and then goes for Calm Mind just after. And then Chandelure proceeds to not care and kills everything with Shadow Ball and Fire Blast, even the Altaria.
Yeah, it was very, very well. It was very well played on both sides. Once again, Baby I has not played a bad game here. Certainly, he's improving. We've seen him take some very big losses. This one was a 3-0, which is far better differential than before, and he's making some interesting sets to go along with it. But Josh just maneuvers himself into this position whereby Chandelure can get to +1 special attack, special defense, and speed.
All because the Altaria didn't have EQ.
Kind of, yeah. If Altaria had EQ, then that would have been game over, I think.
I think...
for Chandelure it would have been.
I think it would have been game period, because I don't think his Aromatisse, unless the Aromatisse could take... no, Aromatisse couldn't 1v1 Amoonguss, and Tyrantrum died on re-entry. So if it had been a physical EQ Altaria, that would have been game over. The Chandelure would have gone down. Yeah,
and that's just the thing about Mega Altaria. It's been kind of seen as this sort of almost a poison chalice kind of deal. It's so very versatile, it can do so many different things. The set that was brought, Roost Cotton Guard with max special stats, very nice stuff. But if you just bring just one wrong move on it, it can become such a liability. It's got to be nurtured and played with very, very carefully. And it causes problems for everyone who really gets it. I think even Miguel's had a few problems with it in the GBA. But yeah, it's just a difficult one to use optimally. And whilst it was used incredibly well, I liked the set, and I like what Baby I was doing this week, it just didn't quite come together again. But
I'm gonna start calling all of my Mega Altarias double-edged sword.
Nice, I like it. Which is ironic because there are no sharp parts to a Mega Altaria at all.
It's beneath all the cotton.
Ah, I see. That's why.
Like if you try and hug that thing and you pull back, you just got like you take a drink and it's like in the Tom and Jerry cartoons, a bunch of water starts pouring out of holes in your body because a bunch of spikes from under Altaria's cotton just like poked all into you.
Nice. But yeah, I mean, it's still a more promising performance from Baby Eye. You know, Josh, he's just looking very strong. He's bringing some really fascinating sets. I'm just intrigued to see what he's going to do next. It's going to be what he's bringing such crazy stuff. I love it.
I figured it out.
What's that?
The Altaria did have Earthquake, but because Josh is the creator of the game, it had 0 PP.
That would explain it.
It all makes sense now. That's why Josh never loses, because whenever like there's always one thing that can beat Josh, and he always like he always has like he activates that one, like he hits the hacks win button, and that one piece of hacks that decides it just activates.
Yeah. Come on, Josh, play fair. It's come on.
It's not funny anymore, Josh.
Yeah. You've had your fun. Now let everyone else play on normal mode. Come on. It's not fair. Right, well.
Next match?
Yeah, next match, and this one was always going to be good, because this one saw Super Gassy and the New York Shelmets taking on our very own Freedo and the Welshions. Both teams sitting at 2-0. So this was always going to be both a very entertaining game and a very close game. Both of those things occurred. We actually saw the 1-0 victory going to Super Gassy. So, interesting stuff brought on both sides. We saw a nice mix from Gassy of standard.jpg and very much not standard. Because whilst he's got the likes of Donphan and Alamomola with almost completely standard sets, and also, oh look, Choice Band Azumarill is back again because still, what a switch-ins. We also saw the Lord synchronized Jolteon. And
I don't want to talk about it.
He actually managed to get a synchronize off.
I don't want to talk about it.
But it was amazing.
I don't want to talk about it, True. I'm upset every time synchronize works unless it's Vaporeon against Tentacruel.
This is true. I mean, there are arguments that can be made for Hidden Power Grounds being able to hit like much more things. But when you're looking at the likes of Entei on the Welshion side, I guess Stab would have hit it harder anyway, I think. Potentially, possibly, maybe, perhaps.
It's the matter of the fact that if the Entei switches in on the Hidden Power Ground, it still takes damage. But if it switches in on the Synchronoise, then nothing happens.
Yeah, that is true. But he was really happy when he got the Synchronoise off, so I guess...
he was, like, so excited.
Joy for Gassy.
It was like he won the match right there, even though it was still early game.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as Freedo goes, both had options to bring Hazard Stack, and really, I think only Gassy did. He brought in Rocks on Donphan and Spikes on Klefki. And Hazard Stack versus Freedo is a good option, because he only really has Fortress, who hates sustained pressure, and Latios, who hates running Defog, because it's got much better things to be doing than running Defog. But yeah, Gassy was making safe enough plays early on, just kind of cycling through his defensive mons, taking hits where he could and where he needed to. And then we saw Freedo absolutely telegraphing that he had Surf on Heliolisk. Just bring it in on the Donphan and act like you don't have Surf. If he was a Lord, he would have gone for Volt Switch.
If he was good at the game, it would have been HP Ice.
There it is. There is also that.
So that way that he could also hit the Klefki for non-super effective damage.
Yeah, and that is what we look for when we're analysing these things. Whether your hidden power is not very effective on things is very important to take into account.
Listen, man, if you're not doing like less than 50 to a Klefki on a switch-in, then you're not doing it right.
Of course. And then what do we see? Sylveon causing problems. Gassy had specifically EV'd his ridiculously bulky Zardex to take 2 Hyper Voices from a defensive Sylveon, but this was not a defensive Sylveon.
I do not agree with that part of the match at all. Bringing in Zardex to try and set up on the Sylveon, regardless on if you think it's bulky or not, until you know for sure. Like, that was... Because Zardex is such a good mon and can put in so much work, especially if it actually gets the chance to get off the D-dances. And as we saw, he tried to do it against a Sylveon that he was not sure if it was defensive or Specs, and it turned out to be Specs, and then Zard got a hit off and died.
Yeah.
I guess it worked out because Gassy still won in the end, but I just didn't agree with it myself.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about it. I don't know to what extent Freedo was consciously bluffing the Scarf on Sylveon. I don't know whether he'd even thought that was what he could do.
I'm guaranteeing you Freedo just said, you know what, Hyper Voice does damage. Let's click Hyper Voice.
I like that way of thinking better. But either way, he managed to get that sort of mini amount of damage with Sylveon. I think he took out a couple of Mons.
I think he got 2 kills. It was
Yeah.
it was Zardex and something else. I can't remember.
Yeah. And the thing is, Freedo kind of looked to be in control towards the mid-game because Gassy was trying to be pivoting around with Jolteon, but Freedo was always getting the slow pivot with Uxie, which I didn't agree with the Uxie set he brought, but I'll go into that.
What was the full
time.
Uxie set?
I only really think we saw Rocks and U-Turn, so it could have been. Oh no, we saw Dazzling Gleam as well.
Can we talk about the Stealth Rocks on the Donphan and then switching into Vaporeon?
Yeah, not sure that was his optimal play.
I mean, I guess it got Vaporeon a relatively safe switch, but that's about all it did.
Yeah, I guess.
But it did come to one point in the match. It was like 5-3 or 5-2 or something. Freedo in the lead, and then I think it was Azu got his Jolteon Gassy's Jolteon got critted by Scald, which I don't know why I expected anything less. Obviously, the Evolution is going to sack itself for the Master of Evolutions in the TBU.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the Jolteon didn't just hit the Donphan with HP Ice while it was in the Pokeball, honestly. I'm pretty sure that Freedo can mind control all evolutions. That's why he has 3 of them right now.
Probably the reason. I mean, I wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, it was Assault Vest Jolteon. It got Scald crit, which I'm pretty sure mattered. I didn't calc it myself, but Gassy seemed pretty sure that it mattered, and he's pretty good with calcs from what I know. And then after that, Azumarill came in to try and kill it, got a play rough, brought it down to near dead, took a Scald, didn't get burned, then Vaporeon outsped, got the Scald burn on the second one, which can only be expected from Scald.
Yeah.
And then it looked like it was over. But then Donphan and Alalabala, they make the comeback and manage to bring it to a 1-0 for Gassy with Donphan tanking a Sacred Fire, not getting burned. He got burned by the Scald, but the Sacred Fire? Nah.
Yeah.
And then EQ takes out the Entei, and then Ice Shard does nothing to a Uxie because, Ice Shard is base 40 Ice attack on a Donphan. But really only good for hitting Dragon types. It doesn't kill the base 130 defense Uxie, but then Alalmalala comes in and finishes it up. Very, very good comeback on Gassy's behalf.
Yeah, I just don't know about that switch from Freedo bringing in Latios. I've put that this was another episode of the Azumarill show. But even if this Azumarill is burnt, you don't bring in Latios. Because yes, it's a burnt Azumarill, but it's bulky enough to probably take your hit. It's still banded with huge power. It's still taking out Latios with play rough.
It's still an Azumarill.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know how much that would have mattered in the long run. I don't know how well Latios could have taken on a which always nice to see Alomomola get a KO with Waterfall to finish the game. That was nice.
Yeah, I think Latios might have been able to take it out, because if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a physical one, because Gassy was freaking out when he thought Entei could have been special.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm pretty sure it was a physical Alamamama designed to take on Sacred Fires and bulldozes from Entei.
Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, unfortunately for Freedo, he does suffer his first loss of the season, but
okay, now
very close
let me lay down some math on these people real quick, Shroom. So he lost 1-0, right?
Yes.
So that's 1-0. If you compare that to week 1 where he won 5-0, then that means that you do the math, that equals -6. So technically speaking, Freedo got 6-0'd, once again proving that he is still yet to get good.
I was never very good at maths, so that might be correct. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Listen, if it ends in MC equals Freedo needs to get good, then it's always right.
Okay, that seems to be a decent rule. I'll allow it.
Or ban shoddy, whichever one you get to first.
That goes without saying.
Never put ban shoddy equals Freedo needs to get good, because I'm pretty sure that explodes the universe.
Quite possibly. It will form a black hole, and everyone will be sucked into it. And that's a shame, because you're going to be...
Except for Josh.
Well, he knows how to control it. He's the one controlling it.
He'll unhacks it out.
So, on that strange note, can move on to the final game to take place from this week just gone. And this was another one, really looking forward to this. Enzo and the Swiskers taking on the Scandinavian Stoutlands and Sky Randa, both two massive personalities in this league, both with a lot of experience behind them. So this was always going to be good. And it did, in fact, end up as... I don't know what words to say. It ended up as a 2-0 victory for Sky Randa, which was cool. I liked a lot of the sets going on. Empoleon's come in for a little bit of criticism in League format, because people tend to sort of shove it into a defensive role a lot, which is what I did. Did
it even touch the floor in this match?
It did not hit the field, but if it had, it would have been sub-agility with Pataya Berry, which is amazing. I love
Which
that
one is
set.
Pataya Berry?
It increases special attack.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an elemental one because, Empoleon has like 78 different elemental weaknesses.
But who needs weaknesses when you're sub-agility?
You bring up a fair point, good sir. I love Empoleon. I like to make fun of Empoleon, but it's one of my favorite starters, and I use it in when I played UU extensively. I used it a lot. I very much like Empoleon, and I love seeing it in offensive roles.
Yeah, I very much agree. And on Enzo's side, what I quite enjoyed was how very well prepared Sky was for a potential Scarfed Diggersby, which is a set that people like to run. Scarfed Diggersby is very effective. And then from nowhere, Enzo pulls Agility Diggersby, which was fantastic because Enzo is just a lord. I'm a big fan of agility as a move, so nice to see both players bringing it to the table. As far as the battle goes, I was worried for Sky because he was looking pretty ground weak against a team that involved Nidoqueen and Diggersby, so I worried for him. And I worried more when he stayed in turn 1 with his Scarf Drapion, another awesome set by the way, versus Nidoqueen, because Aquatail just... I didn't like its chances of 2-hit KOing.
It's not enough.
Yeah,
Aquatail is not strong. Not only does it have the 10% chance to miss, which, with as much as people miss high jump kicks, I think it's the same accuracy.
Yeah.
But not only does it have a good chance to miss, but non-stab, only base 90, it's not going to...
Yeah.
Against a Nidoqueen, not going to work too well.
I wasn't sure about it, but I reasoned it kind of like this. Like, we've been talking about how Sky enjoys his hyper offense, and this was kind of another thing. Like, for a lot of what he was doing this battle was playing riskily whilst looking for chip damage, because he has a lot of things that can finish up the game. So I get it. I see where he's coming from with this. Get chip damage on all the things, and kind of hope and assume that you'll have something left at the end, which he would have done. But the upshot of that whole thing was he got his sash broken on Zam, which was unfortunate, but Zam's fairly specially bulky in its own right, so it can take non-stab hits like it had to a little bit later.
Yeah. Zam doesn't need the sash as long as it's not coming in on physical stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Enzo bringing the Scarf Bisharp. Anima, give back control of the team to Enzo. Come on now. It's
DT
time.
Drapion's base speed.
Yes. Drapion is faster than people think. I think it's base 95.
It's pretty fast. I had it on my team for like two weeks in D2. It's surprising.
Yeah.
Drapion is a surprisingly good mon. I really like it.
It's pretty NASCAR. Which certainly threw Enzo off. Because he let his Scarf go on Bisharp, like allowing the Drapion to knock it off, and that was unfortunate because Scarf Bisharp was very, very key to his success. Unfortunately for him, Sky kind of cottoned onto it fairly early, with the whole Diancie versus Bisharp situation, protecting with Diancie, which is fine by the way to get the Mega off, but he has used that before, and if Enzo wasn't Scarfed, it could have been bad news bears, but he keeps going for Iron Head, and Sky was saying like, okay, I have to assume now that he is Scarfed, and that was a fair assumption to make, and he was. So well played on Sky's part, looking into, the kind of things Enzo was bringing. And again, we saw this chip damage thing versus Enzo's bulk. Mega Diancie versus Gorgeist. Gorgeist, of course, can hit Mega Diancie super effectively, but once again, Sky is just looking for that chip damage. Try and weaken things. He did. He did end up killing it.
He didn't care. Diancie didn't care.
Yeah.
It was really unfortunate for Enzo because it was a roll, too.
Yeah, it was.
I think it did... I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah, the first one did 94 and the second one did like 103.
Yeah, unfortunate rolls as far as Enzo's concerned. But yeah, Sky's Mega Diancie just not caring. Just, again, looking for the chip damage. I'd like to say that Sky is one of the few people able to make Landorus Therian work versus Bisharp. Because of course Bishop with that Defiant, is it Defiant it's got? Getting the attack raise after the attack
Defiant,
drop?
if any of your stats drop, you get +2 physical attack.
Yeah, and it's what makes Bishop one of the scourges of VGC, or at least used to, and OU, because of the amount of Intimidate going around. But he knows that his opponent's locked into low kick, so he can bring in Lando T, give Bishop +1, and still threaten it out, which was impressive. And then we saw Clutch live from Nidoqueen, living an Earth Power from Mega Diancie with literally 1 HP. So that was unfortunate from the point of view of Sky. But then, we get into the late game. Diggersby unfortunately unable to perform the task that Enzo wanted it to, wasn't able to get the agility off. He got nice chip damage with it, but it wasn't enough because of the -1 from Intimidate from Landorus. And Sky was able to finish up the game. What I liked about this one particularly was that each side had an agility sweeper, and neither of them got to use them.
One of them didn't even hit the floor.
Yeah, one of them never hit the field. But
that's how dangerous Empoleon was. He's like the big boss. He's sitting in the back. He's like looking over Sky Randa's shoulder like, yeah, click that move. Yeah, there you go. I ain't even got to come out. It's all over. This is why I'm the King Ping one.
The what now?
The King Ping one.
The king... Oh, of course, yes.
As the Trident Crown Shroom! You're supposed to be the one that likes Empoleon.
We pronounce things differently. Don't kill me.
Wait, how do you pronounce it?
Penguin.
Penguin?
Yeah. I thought you said it. I'm confused. I'm so confused. I don't know what's happening anymore.
Well, this is obviously Shoddy's fault once again.
I haven't had enough tea today.
What? I thought that... Isn't that like... Can't you just like cut open your arm and then like your blood is tea and you can just like drink your blood? Like, isn't that how British people work?
I'm running low, I haven't topped up in a while.
That's a fair point. You should probably go to the nearest tea station and refill. I hear that tea prices are going up though. We're like getting our oil prices are going down, but your tea prices are going up. So
God damn it, there is an imbalance.
Don't worry, the Force will be put back into place in the 7th movie that comes out in like 4 days.
Nice. Are you being paid to advertise for George Lucas? Shh. So, with
no further questions.
No further question on that. Nothing much more to say about the Enzo versus Sky game. A really good game, as we say, one we were looking forward to because of just the magnitude of who was involved. But yeah, Sky does take his 2nd win of the season and is looking pretty good. So, with that talk of results, we can segue into the standings. Really quick look at them. First up,
I wish I had a segue.
I wish I did too. I've never been on one.
Shroom, it's so much fun. I was on one once. We need to get segues.
And we will.
Freedo, I demand a raise so that I can afford a segue.
Make it happen, Freedo. Make it happen. But yes, first up with the Kanto division. And it's fairly close to the top. We've got Slateport Vale and Josh and the New York Shelmets and Super Gassy both sitting on 3 wins and 0 losses. Slateport Vale just ahead on differential. It's a differential of 4 separating them. +9 for Slateport Vale, +5 for the New York Shelmets. Then we have Enzo and the Swiskers currently sitting at 2 wins and 1 loss after this week's game just gone, with a differential of +4. Then the Dallas Stravias and Trip, after taking their first win, currently sitting at 1 and 2 and a differential of -4. Quills, Dungan and Typhlosions, they're a game behind with 0 wins and 2 losses, so still got that game in hand with the differential of -8. And unfortunately, bringing up the rear, 0 wins and 3 losses for Richie's Liverpool FC and a differential of -6.
He's still the best, though.
Well, yes, this is undoubtedly true. He is a shining light.
Exactly. He's the shining light we all need. Anyways, on to the Johto division. We have Eric and the Bristol Beedoofs with 3 wins and 0 losses, standing at the top with a +9 differential. Then we have Freedo and the Welshians in second with 2 wins and 1 loss with a +8 differential. Just behind him is Sky Randa with 2 wins and 1 loss with +3 differential. Then we go to Sis, who is down 2 games. He's only played 1 game so far this season. He's got 0 wins, 1 loss, and a -4 differential. Beneath him is Gabe, the Galux Rays, with 0 wins, 2 losses. I believe he's missing a game as well. So yeah, the one with Sis, he's still missing from week 1. And he is at -3 differential, but because he has 1 more game and is at 1 more loss, definitely he's beneath Sis in the standings, despite the differential difference.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom, we have Baby I with 0 wins, 3 losses, and a -14 differential.
Yes, indeed. So, continuing our list theme, we can have a quick look at the MVP race. And I think for the first time, we actually have a unified top 10. There is no one equal in 11th. So we'll quickly take you through them. Sitting at 10th, we have Slateport Vale's Latias sitting at 4 and 1. Equal, there is Entei at 9th, also with 4 and 1, playing, of course, for Freedomion's Welshions. Then in at 8th, we have Mega Diancie still sticking around for the Scandinavian Stoutlands, giving Sky 5 kills and 2 deaths on his side. In at 10, 9, 8, 7th, as I quickly count on my fingers, we have Heracross, also of course of the Scandinavian Stoutlands, just with that 1 game, 4 KOs and 0 deaths. And then another Slateport Vale member, Chandelure, is in at 6th, currently sitting at 5 and 1 with +4 differential.
Up on the top 5 of the list, we have in 5th place the Welshion Sylveon with 6 kills and 2 deaths, looking very nice. Above that, we have Eric and the Bristol Beedoops with their Haunch Crow at 5 kills with 0 deaths. Very nice. Always nice to see Eric use Haunch Crow very effectively. And right above Haunch Crow, once again, from the Bristol Beedoops, is Melodic with 6 kills and 1 death. Hanging on, I believe it was in 3rd place last week, and it's still there. Then in 2nd place, we have Azumarill, of course, because, you know, how do you switch? What is a switch? With 8 kills and only 1 death. And lastly, still sitting at the top after that, I believe it was the Week 2 sweep, Goodra is at 9 kills and 2 deaths.
Yeah, some really interesting stuff there. Chandelure popping up after a really, really solid performance this week just gone. Mega Diancie is still in there.
I hope it stays there. I don't mind if Mega Diancie doesn't even get the top 5. I just want it to be relevant. I want to be able to read, or at least one of us read, Mega Diancie's name each week in the Union News.
If nothing else, just to annoy Shardy.
Of course, that's the main purpose. But I do like Mega Diancie. Anyways.
Yeah. And good to see, of course, those 2 Beedoofs, Milotic and Honchcrow, not necessarily the things you associate with being top 10 material in MVP races, but they're still doing pretty well, you know. Eric's getting the best out of them. So, with that, we're going to move on to have a quick look at the bench trades for the week to see exactly what people can use now that they've changed things up. And there have been
Can't wait to hear what's happened.
4 changes, I believe. If you have made a change and it's not mentioned here, do please let us know down in the comments section. But I think we've got them all. First up, Quill. And this is a nice one. I enjoy seeing this. He has moved Blissey to the bench.
Oh, thank goodness.
So away goes a really, really powerful defensive threat. So is he going to bring in an equal swap?
Do not say powerful and Blissey in the same...
Well, it's powerfully defensive. But either way, he's got rid of a pink blob, essentially. Is he going to bring in something equally bulky and difficult to take down? No, he's bringing in Hawlucha. Hawlucha.
Oh, wait. Hold up a second.
Yeah.
Wait. Who authorized this? Because I need to have a conversation with them.
It's going to be interesting, you know. It's not a straight swap in any sense of the word. It's bulk out for power. So I'll be intrigued to see what Quill's going to do with Hawlucha.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I want to see bulk up Lucha. I want to see bulk up Lucha return.
Yes, make it happen, Quill. Make it happen. Second of the bench trades is our very own Freedo. He has moved Noivern to the bench, and of course, it wasn't enough to have 2 evolutions. He's brought in Umbreon, which is interesting.
Wait, he's brought in Umbreon for what now?
For Noivern.
I don't know how I feel about that, because I really like Noivern.
Well, I mean, Umbreon is a mon that you know, you're not bringing it every week, but when you do bring it, it's got a plan. So it's going to be interesting to see what his plan for Umbreon is.
Who was it?
Freedo.
Oh, that was Freedo, because he has the Umbreon, right? Yeah. I remember everyone saying you're stupid for having an Umbreon.
Yeah, precisely, which is why it's going to be so interesting to see what he's going to do with it, because Umbreon...
You better do something right with it. He's just going to bring 3 evolutions, because then everyone's going to be like, I don't want to fight this nerd, and then they're going to forfeit.
If he brings all 3 evolutions, all bulky, it's going to be hellish.
All in the same, they're all going to be specially bulky as well. No physical defense.
Not bad. I'd like to see that happen. So, third of the 4 bench trades is going to see Eric moving Rhyperior to the bench and picking up Excelgor, which I'm personally very excited for.
Ooh, I better see some Shuriken flying around here.
Excelgor's one of those mons who I singled out in the first of the power rankings, I think, as one of those mons I really want to be watching to see exactly what he's going to do with it. I'm excited to see Excelgor put in some work. I really hope it does.
I do too. I want to see Excelgor do good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like Excavalier and Excelgor. They're like some of my favorites from Gen 5, and I like to see them do well.
Yeah, me too. And the final bench trade, I believe, of the week is going to see Josh moving Scolipede to the bench and picking up Rotom Wash. So that's just a fairly interesting one. No baton passing shenanigans for Scolipede, but Rotom Wash is a very powerful threat in its own right. You know, we all know what Rotom Wash can do.
Does TBU enforce the new Smogon rule of no baton passing speed plus anything else?
I don't think so.
Because if they do, then I don't really mind the trade. If they didn't, then I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Well, I'm not sure they're enforcing that rule. If not,
I know that we didn't in PPL. That's why I was asking. But,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I really like Rotom. It was a really, really big part. I brought it just about every week in D2.
Yeah.
I had it in PPL D2, and it was a really big part, especially with my Firewater Grass of Victini, Shaman, and Rotom. But I really do like the Mon, but sometimes, I don't know, there were some weeks where I was just like, man, I wish I had a water that was just a little bit better.
Yeah.
I do like it, but sometimes it can be a little underwhelming to what you would expect. You know, you look at the base 105 in both defense, but then the base 50 HP just kind of... It makes Rotom a little less usable as some of the other bulky waters, in my opinion. I didn't like having it as much as I did, but it definitely is a good Mon and can put in work, and I hope it works for him. I don't know. Scolopede's baton passing abilities, even though it's obvious when it's happening, are just so useful.
Well, as I say, it'll be interesting to see how he uses Rotom, and we do, of course, know exactly who he's going to be playing, as we can take a very quick look at the Week 4 fixtures, and here they are. First up, in fact, is Josh. Slateport Vale taking on Quill and the Dungannon Typhlosions. Then we have Richie and Liverpool FC versus Trip and the Dallas Staravias. Third, this is a big one. Super Gassy's New York Shelmets taking on Enzo and the Swiskers. That is going to be a huge game. Really
looking forward to that one.
That's going to be grand. Fourth one is going to be Siz and the Somerset Sizzles versus Sky and the Scandinavian Stoutlands. There are far too many S's in that whole sentence that I just said. But that's going to be fun to watch. This one, number 5, oh my goodness. Freedo and the Welshions versus Eric and the Bristol Bedoofs.
Oh, I'm excited.
That is
excited.
Juicy game. I don't know how many people watching this were here for last season, but the amount of smack talk between those two in particular was unbelievable. It was through the roof, and they continue it more casually now. They haven't really been featured on the smack talk section, but they've been going at it, so it's going to be interesting.
I bet that the Umbreon is there for that Megalodias. It's starting to make sense to me.
I
don't know what else. I don't think I know what else, except for like Spadefa, but even then Sylveon doesn't want to take Psyshock.
Yeah.
I think Umbreon is a much better trying. Well, then again, with the Draco. Between the two of them, though, that makes it really difficult for Megalodias.
Yeah.
And Megalodias is one of the hardest things to counter.
Yep. Going to be interesting to see if they're going to do that. That's a good call, actually. I like that. Final game, before we forget, is going to be Gabe and the LA Galluxray versus the St. Louis Chatots, and of course, Baby Eye. Both guys looking for their first victory, so that's going to be a really interesting game as well.
Looking forward to them. Good matches.
Yeah, all of them look to be really good, so look out for them on our coaches' channels, which I'm sure will be linked in the description.
No, they've all been replaced with my link, sorry.
Oh. We'll go check out that link, because it's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, with that, we can move on to the final section, which is proving ever popular this season, and that is, of course, the Smack Talk section. We always like to see what our coaches, and sometimes, especially if Shard is involved, our analysts, are saying about each other. And
I get as excited for this as the viewers do, because I have Shroom specifically not tell me anything, so I can just hear it for the first time.
I go through it all, and I've been falling behind, so I was going through like 3,000 messages on the chat, and I picked out some hidden gems, I think. And the first one involves Super Gassy and our very own Chaos.
Wait, what? No, wait
I wonder if you remember this.
I probably don't, because I forget everything. What did I say?
It was a very simple one. I wasn't here for this. People were talking about fairy types, and Super Gassy goes, Mr. Mime, though. At which point Chaos comes in with, Mr. Mime isn't a Pokemon, it's a disgrace, just like you.
I do remember saying that.
I mean, the thing is, you did follow it up with, I mean nay, so, you know, no one can be too mad.
Exactly. That's how you get out of everything. You just say, I mean, nay. That's
So-
my go-to. If I've whenever I say something offensive, or even if I say something and no one replies for a while, I'm like, oh crap, what if they took that too seriously? I just type in, I mean, nay.
Yeah, and that's an easy way out of it.
It fixes everything.
So the second one is Baby Eye, Sinister Sableye, and this is regarding a game that's happening in week 4. Now, what I do want to say is that this was spoken to Ethan, Erasmus Gaming. Richie, unfortunately, can't take control of his team for the week 4 game against the Dallas Stravias, so Ethan, Erasmus Gaming, who's been in and around the Battle Union for a while, he's going to be taking over for next week. And as far as advice giving goes, Baby Eye coming in with, one thing you need to know about your opponent, just bring paralyzing moves on him and you'll win. Very, very good advice, I think, when one is going to be facing down Trip, who hasn't enjoyed the paralysis this season, has he?
No, not at all.
No, he is not.
You're gonna have to. I think that Trip should just start going and pay. He should start paying Josh. Please take the hacks away from me.
Yeah.
I beg of you.
Try and get Josh on side. That's what you want.
Should just sacrifice. We should all just sacrifice Shoddy to Josh so that we'll stop getting haxed.
I mean, the thing is, you say that, but I think after this next little incident, Trip ain't gonna be too happy with Josh because Josh coming because of course Trip wanted Miltank on his team. As we know.
I know what we're talking about.
And Josh comes out with, my Miltank brings all the trips to the yard, and they're like, fuck, why'd you snipe me?
I remember that. That was glorious.
Which is very entertaining. There are a few other sort of things. General smack talk between those going against each other. People saying that sad Freedo is best Freedo. Freedo disagreeing.
There's a best Freedo?
Apparently sad Freedo is best Freedo.
Close enough.
Then there was the let's find a new name for Super Gassy. He suggested super good. Josh, he wanted super impatient and super irrelevant. And our very own Chaos, his suggestions were super worthless shiny hunter and super can't do math. I don't actually have any context for this, but
I don't.
Context is overrated.
The one about shiny hunting was that earlier that day, Gassy was streaming shiny hunting and put it in chat and said you guys should come watch, and we all just said, ew, no, you're shiny hunting, get away from us. And I don't remember the one about math. Oh, he said he was going to go 70-0 or something, so I said that he couldn't do math.
I see. That makes sense. Not too many more things. This isn't particularly smack talk, but this was Sis suggesting the reason for his delayed upload was due to rescuing a kitten. I just thought that people would want to know. Sis was doing computer fixing, but he had to delay fixing his computer and subsequently uploading because he had to apparently rescue a kitten. So that's cool.
I'm pretty sure that it was a dog or something was chasing the cat, and he literally just picked up his desktop and threw it out the window at the dog. It was an ugly dog though. It wasn't one of those cute little lovable ones. It was not
the ones that Carter retweets.
No, not that. No, it was the opposite of Carter.
Oh, right, I see. So the final little snippet we have from the coaches, Super Gassy has suggested that he already knows what he has that will wreck Gabe's team. Now, Gabriel is not one who seems to be partial to joining in the smack talk. He didn't really go in for it last season. He was very reserved. He didn't say too much. But right now, he sensed that he was being targeted by Gassy, saying that he already knew what would wreck Gabe's team. So Gabriel comes in with having a brain, that'd wreck my team. Being good, reminding me that I didn't get Lando T like I wanted, and making me cry to defeat. The list goes on. What
are you supposed to do when they burn themselves?
Well, yeah, this is the thing. He says this is why trash talk doesn't work with me. I've already heard it said in my own head. But I mean, Gabe, my friend, the reason this trash talk doesn't work is that you're supposed to aim it at other people.
I can just imagine, Gabe walking around his house, stroking his magnificent and luscious beard, and just hearing Sis's voice in his head, constantly putting him down. He's going to get his breakfast. He opens up his it's like Sis's voice comes in. Oh, you're gonna go get some cereal. You know that the cereal isn't gonna be good enough. It's gonna taste a little too crunchy, and you're too bad to enjoy it. So you may as well just go back to your room and go to sleep. Oh, but wait, you won't be able to fall asleep because you're bad at that too. I can just imagine that being Gabe's everyday life.
I mean, I can imagine Sis trying to facilitate that more than it just existing in Gabe's head. I can imagine Sis setting up microphones and stuff. to sort of...
No, he would legitimately just go to Gabe's house and like walk over his shoulder. Every time Gabe turns around, he like ducks beneath him.
The ever-present smack-talking threat of Sis. But Gabe, you know, as someone who didn't do a lot of smack-talking last season, you know, it was a good start. It was a good start. You had some solid material against Gassy.
It's some solid material against himself.
And don't cry against Landrosterian, because as Ethan has said, it's bad.
It is not a very good mod.
You've done better without it. But that is going to conclude this little section of Smack Talk, and indeed, this episode of the Union News. So, thank you all very much for watching. We do hope that you've enjoyed. Stay tuned on the channel for the various other analytical series that will be coming this week for the rest of up until Friday. And then, of course, check out the coaches' channels to see all the team building and battles that you need. But yeah, that's going to wrap things up. Chaos, your final thoughts, as ever.
My final comments are going to be, Josh, please, it isn't funny anymore. Stop it. Richie, I still love you and you're still the greatest, as you always have been. Never forget. Freedo, will you please, for all that is good in the world, stop cuddling your stupid little Eevees and go get good, for Pete's sake. And Gabe, you're still awesome with your GFX. That should do it.
There we go. Not bad. A good summary, I think. But yeah, we're gonna get on out of here. So our final thank you to
literally
all...
get on out. We're gonna walk out of our rooms, like jump out our windows.
I'm leaving.
Completely.
I've opened the window. I'm abseiling down my wall as we speak.
I'm currently missioning impossible into my kitchen at this moment.
Nice. That's always a good way of going. But yeah, we're gonna get on out of here. So our final thank you to you all for watching, and yeah, we will see you on another video. So take care, TBU fans. Goodbye.
Farewell.